Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? So today I'm going over why you should stop immediately looking at astrology to figure out future qualities or characteristics about your future spouse or partner. Okay, this is a very unresourceful thing to do and probably bringing you down spiritually way more than it is bringing you up. Okay, when it comes to the astrology community or the general public, the way they think about astrology or the astrology community, they tend to go towards two sides, two extremes. And why is extremes important? Because the ego loves extremes, okay? Extreme number one is people who basically say, hey, astrology is complete nonsense, it's not real, whatever, right? And extreme number two, people that are very ungrounded in astrology and they just are kind of subconsciously or consciously using it to further fuel whatever fiction or fantasy that is running through their brains, okay? By far, by over a mile, this second extreme is way worse than this first extreme. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this first extreme, right? Why? Because the way our sages intended this spiritual science to be used, it is a supplemental spiritual tool, okay? It's a spiritual tool and it's a supplemental one. Supplemental means you don't need it. Okay, it's just something to help supplement your spiritual journey. Okay, and your spiritual journey, you can live a very good life or whatever without, necessarily giving a shit about your spiritual journey. Okay, so, and by the way, this video, it's coming from the premise of somebody who wholeheartedly believes in Vedic astrology, right? As you guys may or may not know, depending on how much you watch my video, Western astrology to me is a lost cause. Okay, and I have a video comparing the two, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, this is coming from somebody who is decently, I would consider myself a somewhat rational and not very feminine person. Okay, so very emotionally and mentally grounded. Now, sometimes these things are needed, right, to kind of balance things out. Okay, especially for the people in extreme number two. Your Lagna chart, or your chart, your Kundali, your whatever, your astrology chart, your main birth chart is basically a karmic blueprint of this lifetime, okay? So it's basically, like I said, it's a supplemental spiritual tool. So it's like, oh, you see the chart, and it's like, oh, there are certain karmas that I can see upcoming for this birth, okay? Fine and dandy. So let me give you a great way of how, just 2 seconds of how you can use it, right? Let's just say in my mid-20s, mid-30s, whatever, and I just see that I'm in a Rahu Mahadasha and I'm having a really bad time, especially mentally, I can say, oh, I'm having a really bad time and I see this Rahu Dasha coming up. Obviously, I'm giving a very simplified example. Maybe let me try to limit my alcohol consumption or limit hanging out with these people that are really bringing me down at least until this Dasha is over, right? This would be a really great way of using the tool, okay? And as you can see here, it's like you're using the tool to realize, oh, wow, I have this karma, mental suffering or illusionary, stuff going on and things like that. Let me do something about it, at least until this period is over. Now, the people who don't believe in astrology, you can just say, well, you can just do something about it now. Yes, but it's easier said than done. But there's nothing right or wrong with that path, right? With whatever one you take. The point is, as long as you do something about it, and that's why this is a spiritual supplemental tool. It's not necessary, but it's a supplement. Now, when it comes to your future spouse qualities or things like that, there's absolutely nothing or no karmic gain or getting a step up on, fulfilling your spiritual quest in this lifetime by, knowing some shit like how tall your partner is going to be and whenever you meet them, right? Or how well developed their upper body is, or how pretty or handsome they're going to be, or how much money they're going to make, right? These have extremely low influence on your spiritual journey up ahead, right? So there is absolutely no reason to use this to determine that information, right? This tool, this gift was not used at all to think of this kind of stuff, okay? Now, you might be wondering, oh, well, okay, I get it. It's not, used to, do all the spiritual stuff, but why can't I just check, right? All right, let me tell you why you don't want to check. The information that you're trying to find is further just fueling your ego. Your ego has certain fantasies or certain things that it wants to play out, usually related in not good energy, like it's rooted in lust or anxiety or arrogance or something deep down. It's rooted in something not good. Okay. If you are fueling these assumptions or perceptions, or I'm not thinking of the right word here, but if you're fueling these kind of perceptions that your ego has, you are going away from the spiritual and more towards the ego, right? More towards identifying yourself with certain things, like I will get a perfect partner, or I will get a good looking partner, or I will have somebody who's is respectable, right? And you're going more towards this, more towards the aspect of there's something special about me, right? I mean, we're all unique and stuff like that, but there's something extra about me. There's something special about me, and less towards we're all spiritual beings here working together. Okay, I really hope you saw that, right? Anything you do, right? And there's a lot of stuff that we do just out of human nature, right? Like we try to make more money or whatever, right? These are not all bad things, right? But you have to understand certain things are taking you more away from the spiritual, right? And that's fine. But here, you are going away from the spiritual for absolutely no reason, right? Just because you try to find out or you try to hunt down certain details does not mean the details you find out are going to be correct. They're probably not. They're probably just stuff that you really just want to hear, right? And they're probably not correct. You'll never know if it's correct. It probably has this weird, whatever information you receive, especially from certain people, it has this weird dance of like being vague and specific at the same time to kind of, like I said, to just get past the layer in your brain and kind of fuel your cognitive bias and your just whatever's going on in your ego to take you away from being spiritual. And like I said, just because you do this stuff, you try to find out, does not affect your life at all. Like it doesn't mean that any of this stuff is more likely to become true. If anything, it'll just, like I said, be worse for you mentally, so that even if this does happen, it's like you are already so attached to it that you don't really appreciate it until it comes. Okay? And now I know there's going to be some people who say, oh, well, this one guy told me that, I'm going to meet my partner at the beach next month and it happened. I mean, good for you. Okay. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you, but sometimes people just get extraordinarily right. And like I said, sometimes, there's a certain dance of being very general and being very specific. Like, let's just say somebody tells you, oh, there's going to be water involved when you meet your person, right? And yeah, the obvious is like, you went to the beach or whatever. What happens if you're just on a date and you both ordered water and you're like, oh my God, we both had water. That's how we do it. Like you see where I'm obviously being very, obvious here about, certain things, but this is almost how some people sound. Okay. And obviously it's not going to be that silly for everybody. Okay. I completely understand that this concept of the other person means a lot to a lot of people. Right. And it makes sense, right? This is, but you have to remember, other people are a reflection of you, right? So that's why they get so attached. That's why you get so attached, because the person who you have, you think it tells you a lot about yourself, and it does. But the way you get somebody that's good is to make yourself as good as possible, not just, try to find somebody good. And then, it just kind of lifts you up, right? It's like, how do you make the most money, right? Do you do it by, doing the skills to build up your business and blah, blah, blah? Or do you do it by just playing the lottery and hope you get lucky, right? And even if you, all right, it's obviously the first one, but even if you do hit the lottery, there's a reason why a lot of people lose their money, okay? So it's the same thing here. If you want a good partner, you just need to make yourself the best possible, okay? And that's the way you're gonna be able to maintain a partner. Same thing how somebody with business skills is gonna maintain a business. If you somehow even get lucky and hit the lottery, you're not gonna be able to maintain this person, okay? Yeah, and just remember, right? There's other things that you can do that are resourceful related to partner in astrology, right? Like you can use this for timing. No, but like, hey, these are the certain, timings that, are more likely that I'm gonna meet someone. Although I wouldn't get too attached to any timing specifically. But if there's an overall very strong period for a long time, feel free to, do certain things like making sure you're in good shape or whatever steps you need to take to make sure that these certain energies can play out in the best way possible, right? But yeah, I'm at 12 minutes. I think that's all I got to say on this topic, okay? If I convince somebody, at least one person, this video was worth it, okay? That's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. And until next time, I'll talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.